Hello, my name is Ruth Mukwana, and I'm going to read my short story, The Witch. These days they call me by my name Hope. By they, I mean the people in our small dusty town Masaka, where everyone knows everyone. When I was a little girl living with my grandmother, all I wanted was to be known by my name, but no, they would call me Little Girl. I'd be on my way from the borehole where I often went several times a day for water, a heavy plastic jerrycan balanced on my head. The sun was so hot my eyes hurt from looking at it. The heat burned through my skin, and I would hear them whisper, "Little girl." I walked by the women who sat on mats, their legs played out, peeling matoke and sweet potatoes, or pounding ground nuts as they caught up on the day's gossip. Men sat on low stools on their verandas, drinking locally brewed alcohol through long yellow bamboo pipes dipped in clay pots. Children skipped ropes and played football. I walked along the winding brown dirt path in my short denim skirt and blue flip-flops, with semicircles in the rubber soles dug by my heels, which I continued to wear because they were the only thing that protected my feet from stones and thorns. "There, little girl goes," they would point as they whispered. Their whispers were loud enough for me to hear, and for children to repeat when I tried to play with them. Whispers about my denim skirt, which I wore every day, about my panty visible beneath the skirt, whispers about my grandmother. I knew from the way they whispered that I didn't belong. This was no surprise. If you knew my story, you too would avoid my eyes that were always begging for help. My parents died when I was 2, a car accident. I was left behind with my grandmother, who they said was a witch. "Witch! Witch!" they would shout when she ventured out of our iron-roofed house to check on her cassava, sweet potatoes, beans, and banana garden, and the 2 cows which were left to meander during the day and tied with ropes to the mango trees behind our house in the evenings. Grandmother did her best she could for me under the circumstances. The circumstances being, she was 80 years old, her health was failing, and she was thought to be a witch. Our neighbors accused her of killing several people in the town. I say accused because I never saw any evidence. Fine, I didn't ask for proof, but I never saw any of it. Not the cowrie shells, dry goat skins, drums, or a shrine. I never saw any of these things said to belong to witches. "Look at her lion eyes," they would whisper. "Those eyes can't be human. Just look at her eyes. That's all you have to do." One case involved our neighbor Nam. The fights with grandmother about their cows destroying each other's crops started the moment Nam married her husband. Nam, in her early 20s, had also had several miscarriages. The day she had her 4th miscarriage, she and grandmother had quarreled. Nam's cow had come into our compound, and grandmother told me to tie it to one of the mango trees. When Nam came to collect the big milk, white, beautiful cow with large kind eyes that watered when it was sad, grandmother chased her away. "You devil incarnate! The devil lives in you and sucks blood out of your babies. The devil kills them. This one too is going to die. You hear?" she shouted, her voice carrying throughout the town. Her eyes were bright orange. They got that way when she was very angry. She continued to murmur to herself as she spread ash around her homestead to keep the devil out. It was a cold Saturday morning and a mist hung in the sky. A small crowd of people had gathered and silently watched. They were like flies on a pile of bananas. Many of them draped blankets around themselves. The sun had taken longer than it normally did to come out. They were waiting for something to happen the way people in small towns wait for things to happen. Nothing transpired that morning. Nam left, but grandmother continued to curse and cast the devil out of our home. Grandma, is Nam possessed by a devil? I asked as soon as she came back inside the house. What nonsense, of course not. But you said, I know what I said, child, she chuckled. There is no devil, just greedy, nasty people. Remember that. Now, I'm tired and cold, she said, and went back to bed. That evening, Nam had another miscarriage. This time, the clan elders decided to find the killer, and nothing would stop them. You see, in our town, no one died from natural causes. Someone was always responsible. If you were run over by a car, someone must have made the driver drive badly. If you fell from a tree and died, someone must have made you climb the tree. Accidents didn't happen. There was always someone who willed them. The elders ruled over the village like gods. They were in charge of the traditional courts that resolved civil matters, land and family disputes. They were in charge of the traditional courts that resolved civil matters, land and family disputes. They weren't supposed to have anything to do with criminal cases, but they did, and their word was final. News of the miscarriage traveled throughout the town like lightning. Within minutes, people had gathered outside in small groups with lamps to discuss the death and speculate on who was responsible. The elders, too. And so it was that they turned up at our home. I didn't kill anyone, Grandma said as soon as she opened the door, leaning on the stick that she used to support herself and holding a lamp in the other. We shall find out soon enough, said the elder with missing front teeth. The others nodded. What is there to find out? We are going to slaughter a rooster. If it dies in front of you, then you did kill the baby. If it doesn't, we shall leave you in peace, said missing front teeth, and the others continued to nod. You've come to kill me. No one has come to kill anyone, said the elder, who made me think of the cunning grey monkeys with small white faces that descended on our town to steal bananas. Then what are you doing here? They looked at each other. God gives and takes life, not you. Grandma muttered to herself and laughed her contemptuous laughter. There is nothing to be afraid of. If you've done no wrong, you'll be proven innocent, said the third elder. Ayah, she scoffed, innocent. You've come to kill me. Why don't you just do it now? You don't need a rooster to pronounce me guilty, she said, looking beyond the elders to the people who had gathered to watch. And you, she curled her lips towards them, have come to witness a murder. It was a clear night. There was a full moon. The sky was a bed of stars. Everywhere you looked, there were stars. It was like they had woken up to witness. Missing front teeth slit the rooster's throat and released it. It jumped frantically in front of our house, spraying blood on the elders and the people gathered. Everyone except Grandma watched the rooster as it fought for its life. I held my breath, expectant, but the rooster jumped further and further away from Grandma. The rooster grew weaker and weaker. The silence deepened. The moonlight became brighter, and the stars grew larger. You could hear the sound of the wind. People who had blankets pulled them tighter around their shoulders. All eyes were fixed on the rooster, its white feathers soaked in blood. They waited. The rooster finally lay lifeless in front of the elders. Missing front teeth bent down, picked it, stood up, and pointed his finger at Grandma. Its head is pointing in your direction, he declared. Grandma burst into laughter. You murderers! You touch me and I'll come for you from my grave. She threatened before she retreated into our house and locked the door. They didn't touch her. I think the elders were afraid of her. After all, she had just made a rooster die in front of them. They must have speculated on what else she was capable of. I saw it all through a tiny opening in one of the wooden windows of our house. And I'll stop here. Thank you.